You're very kind. It's obvious that I grew up in the 80s, so I knew the culture. I started the 80s outside of Boston, ended up in Florida, so I really had two cultural experiences at that time. And I try very hard in the books not to say it is 1985, 86, 87, and I use devices to point at the years that's going on. And there's a little bit of a fudge factor that I work with. Typically the books start taking place around 86. Reagan's in office. It's a good time for the country to have a lot of conversations because we've come out of the 70s and we're all reuniting, and Reagan's the great cheerleader that everyone wants to promote him as. Right? He likes Reagan, doesn't care, doesn't, as far as he knows, he's just a guy in the White House, and he goes in and visits him. That's nice. Reagan gives him jelly beans. But the way I work in the hints is, I know in the third book, he mentions Margaret Thatcher, or the Iron Lady politics, so that we know that Thatcher in the UK is still in office. Reagan's in office in the United States. I use a fax machine as a date reference in the first book. So there are little pieces mixed in so that I never have to say what the year is. Because as soon as I say the year, I'm going to have to start counting up time and dates to go from that point. And that's more work than I really want to try to keep straight. Music. I get a lot of questions about the music. Being it's a first-person narrative story, Rye needed to have all of his senses working. That he smells things. I make it very evident that he is expressive in how he sees the world. He smells it, he tastes it, he hears it, he touches it. But we never really understand what's going on in a character's mind if we don't know what their thoughts are. So I wanted to put music in as a way to align what he's thinking. And then I decided, well, let's use the music as a foreshadowing device. And if you pay attention to what the songs are, or whatever the hint is, something is going to happen within the next pages that is going to come off of those songs. And Mick Jagger singing Crossfire Hurricane Line is one, that he's running down the road and all of a sudden he has a visualization of Jagger singing the song, and he's caught in a crossfire. And this is him starting to learn that maybe this music that he's heard his whole life is telling him something, and he's learning to pay closer attention. But the difficult part with the music is I have a definite timeline that I cannot pass in songs. And it's hard to find 1980s songs that aren't more top 40 bebop style. So he goes back to what he was listening to in the garage growing up. And he grew up as a boy in the world set up by baby boomers. And the baby boomers' music was different. So he quotes a lot of music that he listens to from the baby boomer generation. So I have stepped him back 10, 15, 18 years in his music selections. And I have yet to find one, and I'm working at it, I really am, of how am I going to incorporate some of the later 80s music as he starts to move 5, 10 years later down the storyline, because by then he'll be old enough, well, yeah, I remember that from when I was that age. And music is difficult. It is extremely difficult. But my ultimate goal is that one day I sell the movie rights, and I already have the music in line to go with the movie, and I'm an easy sell.